We begin a path of maturation and enlightenment the minute we are born. But how do we know if we're making headway down this road? When do we know we have reached spiritual maturity? While this is a personal path, there are certain qualities shared by those who have arrived at a mature spiritual state. Here are 5 surefire indicators that you have reached a high level of spiritual development. To stop being so quick to pass judgment on others. When I first began my search for meaning in life, I saw that many individuals seemed preoccupied with trivial matters. When there is so much more to worry about in life than her children's grades, why would a mother worry about them at all? Why did they fight over nothing but petty issues and fail to see how much their love and connection meant to one another? They felt that they weren't privy to the things that counted. But as I journeyed farther down my spiritual path, I started to understand that it's not my position to criticize other people's lives. This is more than simply a change, so let's have a conversation about it. This is a major accomplishment. As you progress spiritually and learn to stop judging others, you'll come to see their trials and triumphs as part of their own unique path, just as they are a part of your own. This change goes beyond merely getting along. It's a sobering thought that we're all dealing with our problems and maturing at our different rates, but we're all in this together. You realize that knowledge isn't a sign of superiority over others. It's a spark of brilliance that shines from inside. And just like every other source of illumination, its primary function is to shed light, not cast shadows. An entrance is unlocked when judgment is set aside, a portal to empathy, to understanding, and to true human connection. To a lesser extent, you lay the groundwork for your own enlightenment. When you free your mind from pessimism and dogmatism, you open it up to the boundless possibilities of the human experience. How do you know when you've arrived at this ethereal turning point? The thing is, it usually occurs in secret. Maybe you'll wake up and realize that you've been listening more and critiquing less. You'll find yourself intrigued about people's decisions rather than contemptuous. You could even experience a sense of tranquility resting over you. In its place, you'll feel compassion instead of rage, love instead of hate, and understanding instead of impatience. Keep in mind that, apart from the distractions of everyday life, it's not hard to have a profound sense of spiritual enlightenment when standing on a mountain, but the actual litmus test of spiritual growth is whether or not you can maintain that calm in the midst of the craziness of daily life. If you're a positive person, do you continue to be such even when you're in a bad mood, delayed in traffic, or dealing with family issues or a tough coworker? Then you know you've developed as a person. Then you'll know that spiritual enlightenment isn't about escaping reality. The key is to keep an open mind and spirit as you go through it. You believe in the freedom of others. It used to be that I believed everyone would perceive the world the same way I did. If only I could convince them. If only they would be more receptive to spirituality, their lives would improve dramatically. They would experience the same enrichment in their lives that I did. It was like discovering a treasure, and I couldn't figure out why everyone else wasn't scrambling to get their hands on it. But another turning point in my spiritual development occurred when I realized that people had free choice, and that this is a valuable gift that must be honored. This is more than simply a sign of progress. Therefore, let's investigate it further. It's a proclamation of spiritual wisdom. When you begin to see and honor the autonomy of others, you take a giant leap forward in your own development. Think about a gorgeous flower you discovered in a field. Would you pluck it if you saw its beauty and wanted to keep it a secret? Or would you leave it in the ground where it may continue to develop and blossom? Allowing a flower to bloom in its natural setting is analogous to comprehending free choice. Individuals are consistent. They thrive when allowed to pursue interests of their own accord. This is not an indifferent stance. It's a statement of independence. When you let people make their own decisions, you give them the power to discover the truth for themselves. In doing so, you're recognizing that their experience, however distinct from your own, is nevertheless significant. You're also releasing the pressure to ensure the success and enlightenment of others around you. Your life is your message, therefore live it well. Live it sincerely, passionately, and with tremendous love. If your story touches someone deeply, they will want to learn more about the things that give your life meaning. This decision, however, must originate with them. If you can accept this, you'll probably feel more at peace with yourself. You seem like you've been lugging about a heavy load of obligations. People need to get on board with this idea. People need to get that. And now you can finally put down the basket you've been carrying. The air seems cleaner, the sky seems brighter, and your stride seems easier. You've cleared the way for deeper relationships with others, ones that are founded on true appreciation and care. So how can you recognize this level of spiritual development? It occurs when there is less conflict and more love in your relationships. You'll see that your focus has shifted from trying to alter others to learning more about them. Instead of feeling compelled to fix other people, you will want to walk with them as companions on this amazing trip we call life. They will progress when they are ready to. It's their journey, their free will, and it's great if they pick a different one. Decisions define our lives. Some of them are guiding lights that keep us moving forward. Some of them just keep us going in circles, but all are part of our evolution. When you allow other people to make their own decisions, you raise their status without diminishing your own. In this life, you and I are both teachers and students. We may lead or follow at different times, but we're constantly progressing in the same expansive area. Early on in my spiritual development, I tended to cling to people, situations, and results as if my attachment to them would improve my experience of them. I thought that if I could only manipulate my environment, I could make my life ideal. But then something happened that completely changed my life. I mastered the skill of releasing my grip. Discovering the freedom that comes from letting go is like opening your arms to receive a whole new set of gifts in life. Consider your life to be a river. Efforts to rein it in amount to little more than erecting dams and obstacles. Because of the disruption in the water's movement, it will eventually turn stagnant. But the instant you let go, the river rushes free, vivid and full of life, carrying you to places you couldn't have imagined. Like a butterfly releasing from its cocoon, letting go means freeing itself. You've been burdened by anxiety, expectations, and a need for mastery for a very long time. However, after you've broken free, you're in a much safer position. You're stunning and powerful, and your soul may soar to whatever destination it pleases. When you let go, you unleash tremendous strength. You have faith. You have faith that everything will turn out okay, that the cosmos does really have a purpose, and that free will exists and can be exercised by human beings. You're putting your faith in yourself and realizing that you can handle anything comes your way. And what do you know? When you open yourself up to trusting others, you'll find that life transforms into a shared adventure full of surprises. How then can one tell when they have arrived at this stage of spiritual development? You won't have to spend as much time worrying about the future or other people's actions. Your thoughts have subsided, making way for originality and innovation. When you stop attempting to write every interaction into a screenplay, your relationships flourish. Simply put, you're taking pleasure in them. You feel relieved, like you've dropped a huge load you weren't even aware you were carrying. Just because you let go doesn't imply you have to give up or become passive. Quite the reverse. You start to take an interest in the world around you and actively participate in the here and now. You care very much, yet you know that love doesn't have to be possessive. Instead, it entails allowing oneself and others the latitude to develop naturally as their unique selves. You prefer quiet reflection over acclaim from others. These days, it's easy to get caught up in the flash and glamour of online praise. A like here, a follow there. And before long, our worth will be defined only by online praise. But then, a turning point in your spiritual development occurs. You realize that inner peace is far more valuable than external acclaim of any kind. Imagine you're parched, and you've been wandering for miles in the desert, seeking for water. As you draw near to these mirages, they transform into real lakes and ponds. That's how external validation is, a deceptive mirage that appears to offer fulfillment, but ultimately fails to deliver. Then, however, you discover an oasis of true nourishment, your own serenity. And you finally understand that this is the answer you've been seeking. Simply put, what really is tranquility inside oneself? Knowing who you are and what you believe in brings about inner peace. Happiness is accepting the magnificent complexity that is you and reveling in your own company. It's a condition where your enjoyment is not rented from others, but owned by you, and it's enormously empowering. Peace of mind may serve as both a shield and a beacon. It acts as a wall keeping the world's strife and confusion at bay. When you're secure in who you are, nothing from the outside can shake your composure. The ups and downs of life, the views of others, and the stresses of society fade into the background. Instead of blinding you, your sense of calm shines a light that helps you make decisions and form bonds that are in line with who you really are. If you find yourself at this level of spiritual development, it's important to stop and soak it all in. Hold it dear. Rejoice in it. Imagine being trapped in quicksand and trying to get yourself out. The harder you try, the deeper you'll go. This is how life sometimes feels. When distress is the norm in our lives, we might feel powerless as we sink deeper and deeper into the emotional and mental battle from which it seems hard to emerge. The turning point in your spiritual development, however, has now arrived. The quicksand is still there, but you no longer sink because you know how to avoid it. The first and most important step is to accept that grief and happiness are inevitable parts of living. The yin and the yang, the two poles of reality. A great deal of people let their suffering to cast a pall over the future they had hoped for. They are afraid to open out romantically for fear of being hurt. They are too afraid of making mistakes to take any risks. They are so paralyzed by existential dread that not even the certainty of death can break the spell. This fear-based way of life is so pervasive, yet being so restrictive. Unlike physical pain, which may be alleviated with medication, emotional suffering can feel like a thick blanket. The paradoxical beauty of spiritual maturity. You become more conscious of your suffering, yet less influenced by it. You treat it as if it were a welcome visitor in your home, but you don't allow it take over. It's not that you enjoy pain or actively seek it out, that you give up trying to avoid it. When you refuse to give in to the agony and instead use it as a valuable lesson, you'll start to experience a wonderful transformation. The burden of it is lifted. You realize that suffering is temporary, as with everything else. This newfound insight does not decrease the strength of your feelings, but it does alter how you relate to them. You learn to ride the waves like a pro surfer. You recognize that failure is inevitable, but that success requires getting back up again and again. Just how did you figure it out? You've accomplished something very monumental in your spiritual development. Your confidence and strength have increased. Things that used to scare you are no longer insurmountable, even if they are still difficult. You find an inner fortitude that allows you to continue forward, even when every fiber of your body screams for you to return into your comfort zone. You realize that every experience, even the difficult ones, may teach you something new. So you try to have an open mind and heart,